What's up, guys? Welcome back to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Palantir Technologies stock, ticker symbol PLTR, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Monday, February 26th. Well, guys, Palantir stock finished the day here today, Friday, down 62 cents a share, 2.63%. Let's take a look at this name here, starting on the 1-minute chart, and let's get really contextual about everything that I'm paying close attention to, and that tells us potential bias as we head into Monday. Okay, first of all, if you guys appreciate me covering Palantir, I'm covering it every single day. Let me know in the comment section that you guys would like to see me continue to do that, and I absolutely will. And also, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to hit 2K, I think within the next 7 days or so. I think we can absolutely do that. So let's take a look here at Palantir, starting on the 1-minute chart. So you guys know that I'm a scalper at heart. Scalping is what I do every day. So looking at the 1-minute chart, what I like to just quickly start off with is areas that we could potentially look to replicate come Monday, opportunities that present themselves here today to generate some intraday revenue. Okay, now the first thing that catches my eye here on Palantir, see this little bounce setup that we had going? This is I'm sure I'm not the only one who trades setups of this style, but I developed a style for my own personal use. I call it the repeat offender setup. It looks very similar to this. However, here on Palantir, a couple of problems here today. First of all, the channel was a little bit tight, and we never actually got true tests, which for me typically sucks the edge out of any setup that does develop if you see early bounces really along the entirety of the setup. The entrance gets a little too up in the air, so to speak, and the take profit usually ends up with a psychological resistance too close that throws off the positive expected value, which is very hard to get. So if you find a setup that has positive expected value edge over a big sample size, you have to make sure that you retain that, and little things that throw off a setup can suck that right out. It's hard to get. So the stock itself, just really quick here, is up just slightly after hours. It's up about 0.25%. As always, you know, whether after hours movement is in your favor or going against you, take it with a grain of salt. Reason being, volume is incredibly low. Okay, it's very easy to push stocks around after hours, so just take it with a grain of salt. So let's move on now from that intraday mentality and take a look here at the 5-minute chart. Again, you guys know what we're looking for here. We're looking for volume correlations. Correlations and big changes in volume with movement, big movement in stock price that lead us to believe that there's a larger sample size of the market that agrees with one move, one sentiment over the other. So you can see here on Palantir, we had this bigger downside move. Of course, we had the little pump off the open. That opening candle we always expect, at least within contextual reason, a higher volume candle. And this is well within reason here. We had this bigger downside move, but honestly, the volume on that move is nothing out of the ordinary from what I would expect compared to the remainder of the day. This is very contextual for that time of day. So for me here on the 5-minute, you know, bears, I know that a lot of bears are going to try to see things, but we have to stay as unbiased as possible here. And for me on the 5-minute, I think it would be a force to try to pull anything out of that volume profile. So let's move on and start getting looking at these levels here on the 30-minute chart, the self-fulfilling prophecy psychological levels that I'm going to be watching very closely come Monday here. So you guys can see very obviously we're right up against that $23 area. We're going to get to that on the daily chart. Okay, I think that's more of a daily level that we have to take a look at. But here on the 30-minute to start, remember, we're always looking at these same 50 period and 200 period moving averages on the 30-minute, the 4-hour, and the daily. Never just looking at one time frame, and always looking at the most popular indicators, because, I mean, listen, my opinion is that this is all nothing more, nothing less than a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I want to look at what everybody else is looking at and what is the most obvious story on a variety of time frames. Okay, get a well-rounded psychological picture. And here on the 30-minute on Palantir, we can see here that you bulls, from a bullish perspective, listen, I want to see not only a reclaim of that 50 period that's 1.2% away, but ideally, as soon as possible, a reclaim of that 200 period. I mean, it is 4.15% away, but I mean, we have seen crazier things out of Palantir. Come Monday, though, priority number one, a reclaim of that 50 period here on the 30-minute chart would be absolutely ideal. Okay, let's move on to the 4-hour. You can see here that we have a similar story here on the 4-hour chart. For me, looking here on the 4-hour, you know, obviously the daily levels are going to come into play very much so, but on the 4-hour, we have that 50 period, which is the most reasonable near-term level. It's about 5% away to the upside. We've recently been rejected off of that level here in pre-market a couple of trading days ago. Really, I'm looking for a curl upside heading up toward that region because my ultimate goal, at least in the very short term, is to reclaim that level on the 4-hour chart. If you're a bear, what you're going to want to see here is a continuation. You see this 50 period was trending upside. It is now flattened. If I'm a bear, I really want to see this start to curl downside, putting pressure on the stock between that and the $23 region, helping to have a psychological push down through 23. Okay, it can't hurt if you're a bear to see this 50 period curl over and the stock stay between 23 and the 50 period. So bulls, understand that's what bears are going to be looking for. So typically you're going to want to be looking for the opposite. Now, the most important chart of all, that's going to be the daily. This one, everyone who's watching Palantir, I don't care if they're trading with $100 or 100 million, right? They're all looking at this same chart. The daily with the 50-day moving average, the 200-day moving average, and maybe a few obvious levels. 23 to me has been an obvious level. I've had it drawn for quite a long time now. We are right up against 23. So, I mean, listen here. What I want to see is from a bullish perspective, I'm going to want to see 23 hold come Monday. Now, listen, if it breaks, is it the end of the world? No. You know, I'm a 2 to 5 trading day kind of guy for confirmation on a big daily break, both upside and downside. Okay. I don't like to consider a 1 day or especially like a 1 hour break as anything too meaningful. Volume does come into play. The higher the volume, the more legitimate the move, in my opinion. But bulls, priority number one on the daily chart come Monday, hold $23 a share. Bears, priority number one come Monday, break downside on as much volume as possible. Now, let's take a look at the bias in the options chain here on Palantir. This is all just from Friday here. 347,000 total contracts traded. 221,000 of those were calls. 126,000 approximately of those were puts. So we are seeing a relatively call-heavy chain on Palantir here today. It's not uncommon on Palantir, guys. Palantir is one of those names, for whatever reason, I don't know why. I mean, I love the company, so I guess I kind of know why. But for whatever reason, we just see a lopsided chain in this name way more often than really any other stock with meaningful volume that I track the chain of, which is a lot of them. Palantir has just had a bullish, lopsided chain on the vast majority of days for seemingly just months. It's not uncommon to see this on the name. So if we look now and we get more into the nitty-gritty of the time frame, we have short-term speculators, the 0 to 20 delta range, 69,200 calls, 52,500 puts. So it's not only a slight call bias on the overall, but in the very short term, we're seeing a slight call bias as well. Also worth mentioning here, every single delta range, out of the money, at the money, in the money. On average, that's going to be the short-term speculators, the mid-term, and the longer term. All of them are leaning to the call side, okay, contributing to that relatively heavy overall call-heavy call-put ratio. As always, number one, make sure your risk is managed. The options traders can, of course, be wrong. If you got value out of that video, please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Maybe even leave a like on your way out. It helps out tremendously. You have no idea. It's free and easy. So hope to see you do both. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.